The first thing they told me was not to look through the telescope. That should have been enough to make me leave. I know that now. At the time, it sounded like some weird workplace joke. The kind older employees give new hires to make them feel nervous. Don't feed the raccoons behind the kitchen. Don't use the elevator after midnight. Don't ask why the third-floor bathroom locks from the outside. That kind of thing. Except this wasn't a hotel or a summer camp or some abandoned roadside attraction. It was an observatory. Looking through telescopes was the entire point. The facility was called Mesa Alta Observatory, though most people in the nearest town just called it the station. It sat alone in the New Mexico desert, about 90 minutes from anything that could honestly be called civilization. The road there climbed through dry hills, past rust-red cliffs and empty scrubland, until it reached a flat mesa under a sky so wide it made you feel smaller than you wanted to be. During the day, Mesa Alta looked almost beautiful. 3 white telescope domes sat along the ridge like smooth eggshells. A low concrete operations building connected them through enclosed corridors. There was a radio tower, a generator shed, 2 staff trailers, a weather station, a fenced-off equipment yard, and beyond all of it, desert in every direction. No trees, no streetlights, no traffic, nothing to block the sky. At night, that sky became the problem. I got hired as a night operations assistant, which sounded more impressive than it was. My job was mostly monitoring systems, logging weather data, checking equipment alerts, coordinating with remote researchers, and making sure the facility didn't burn down, freeze up, or get broken into by people who thought observatories were full of alien secrets. I wasn't an astronomer. I want to be clear about that. I had taken a few college science classes, but I didn't know much beyond basic star names, moon phases, and enough computer skills to reboot things without panicking. The job listing said no advanced degree required. It needed someone reliable, comfortable working alone overnight, able to follow technical procedures, and willing to live on site during shift blocks. That last part was why I applied. On-site housing, 4 nights on, 3 nights off, decent pay, quiet work. I was 27, in debt, recently out of a bad relationship, and tired of customer service jobs that paid just enough to keep me desperate. Spending nights in the desert watching computer screens sounded peaceful. The interview happened over video with a woman named Dr. Celine Park, the site director. She was in her 40s, with short black hair, calm eyes, and the kind of voice people use when they are used to being obeyed without raising it. She asked about my technical background, my sleep schedule, whether I had a history of seizures, whether I was claustrophobic, whether isolation bothered me, whether I was prone to sleepwalking, and whether I had ever experienced visual hallucinations. That last question made me pause. "Is that a common issue?" I asked. She didn't smile. "Night work can affect people differently." I accepted that answer because I wanted the job. People accept a lot when they want something. My first day at Mesa Alta was all paperwork and safety training. The day technician, Owen Reyes, gave me the official tour. He was early 30s, cheerful in a tired way, with sunburned cheeks, messy hair, and a habit of talking too fast when he was nervous. He showed me the control room first. It was the heart of the facility, a long, dim space full of monitors, keyboards, radio equipment, system panels, printer trays, and one large window facing the telescope domes. The room smelled like dust, electronics, old coffee, and recycled air. Each dome had a workstation, Dome A was the big telescope, used mostly by university researchers. Dome B handled survey imaging. Dome C was older, smaller, and apparently temperamental, which Owen said the way people describe elderly relatives who bite. "You'll mostly watch alerts," he told me. "Humidity levels, wind speed, dome rotation, tracking errors, temperature differentials. If something goes out of range, follow the checklist." "That's it?" "Usually." I should have noticed that word. Usually. He showed me the emergency shutdown panel, the generator controls, the server closet, the roof access hatch, the radio channels, the break room, the bunk rooms, and the observation deck. The observation deck was a flat concrete platform behind the main building, surrounded by a waist-high rail. From there, the desert dropped away into darkness on 3 sides. Even in daylight, the silence felt physical. Owen pointed toward the horizon. "Town is that way." I saw nothing. "Where?" "Exactly." He laughed. I laughed too because I still thought people here were normal. That changed when Dr. Park arrived near sunset. She carried a black binder under one arm and wore a heavy jacket despite the warm desert air. She met us in the control room just as the first stars began to appear outside the window. Owen suddenly stopped joking. Dr. Park placed the binder on the center console. "Has Owen covered emergency procedures?" "Yes," I said. "Fire suppression?" "Yes." "Manual dome closure?" "Yes." "Radio blackout protocol?" "Yes." "Night rules?" I glanced at Owen. He looked at the floor. "No," I said. Dr. Park opened the binder. Inside was a laminated sheet, clipped to the first page. Of course it was laminated. The top line read, "Mesa Alta Observatory Night Shift Rules for On-Site Staff Only." There were 18 rules. Rule 1, do not look through any telescope between 12 a.m. and 4 a.m. No exceptions. Rule 2, if Dome C opens by itself, log the time, close the control room blinds, and do not attempt remote closure for 11 minutes. Rule 3, if the star tracker identifies an object as home, shut off the monitor and notify no one until morning. Rule 4, never respond to radio traffic from call sign Orion-O. Rule 5, if you see lights moving in the desert where there should be no road, do not mark them on the map. Rule 6, the south hallway has 4 doors. If you count 5, return to the control room without opening any of them. Rule 7, if the moon appears in the wrong phase, do not photograph it. Rule 8, do not allow visitors, researchers, or staff into the facility after 10 p.m. unless their name appears on the printed schedule. Rule 9, if the printer produces coordinates you did not request, fold the paper twice and place it in the red drawer. Rule 10, at 1:13 a.m., do not be on the observation deck. Rule 11, if you hear knocking from inside a telescope dome, check the exterior cameras before opening any door. Rule 12, if the camera feed shows you standing outside, turn off every monitor except weather and wait for the feed to correct. Rule 13, do not speak aloud if the intercom repeats your last sentence. Rule 14, if the desert goes completely dark, sit under the emergency light until the stars return. Rule 15, if someone asks to be let in because the sky is too close, do not unlock the door. Rule 16, if you see a constellation you do not recognize, stop looking at the sky and count backward from 100. Rule 17, if the clock reads 3:33 twice, wake Dr. Park, but do not say why over the intercom. Rule 18, if the telescope turns toward the control room window, leave the building through the east exit and do not look back. I read the list once. then again. Then I looked at Dr. Park. She waited. Owen did not look at me. I said, "Is this serious?" "Yes." No hesitation, no smile, just yes. I let out a small laugh because my body didn't know what else to do with the tension. "Sorry, it just sounds like something from a creepypasta." Dr. Park's face did not change. "Most folklore starts as incident reporting." That killed the laugh in my throat. I looked back down at the rules. Rule 15 stared at me. If someone asks to be let in because the sky is too close, do not unlock the door. "What does that mean?" I asked. "It means do not unlock the door." "What happens if I do?" Owen finally spoke. "You don't want visitors after that." Dr. Park closed the binder halfway. Mesa Alta is a scientific facility. We observe, record, measure, and report. We do not speculate during active shift. The rules are operational procedures. Treat them as such. Operational procedures for what? She looked toward the control room window. The first stars were bright above the domes. For things that behave predictably, only when ignored. I almost quit right there. But then I thought about rent, debt, the on-site room. The fact that my car barely made it up the mesa and I had nowhere else lined up, so I nodded like a fool. "Okay," I said, "I'll follow them." Dr. Park held my gaze a second longer. Following is not the same as understanding. Understanding is not required. That was the last comforting thing anyone said to me that day. My first shift started at 8 p.m. Owen stayed for the first hour to walk me through startup. We checked weather, opened domes A and B, synced the tracking systems, confirmed remote access for 2 scheduled researchers, and reviewed the night log format. Dome C remained closed. I kept glancing at its status panel. Owen noticed. "Don't worry about C unless it wakes up." "Wakes up? Opens. That's not what you said." He smiled weakly. "Yeah." At 9:03 p.m., Dr. Park checked in from her office, reminded me to print the schedule, and told me she would be sleeping in the east trailer if needed. Owen left at 9:20 after making coffee so strong it smelled like burnt wood. Before he went out the door, he stopped. "Don't try to be brave tonight." I wasn't planning to. No, I mean it. People think because this place is full of instruments and science, the weird stuff must have a smart explanation. Maybe it does, but smart explanations don't help at 3 in the morning. He tapped the rule binder. "This helps." Then he left. By 10 p.m., I was alone. The first 2 hours were fine, peaceful even. The control room lights were dimmed. Domes A and B tracked their assigned targets smoothly. Data streamed in from remote observation runs. The weather station reported clear skies, low humidity, light wind. The generator hummed faintly through the walls. Every few minutes, one of the telescopes adjusted with a low mechanical whir. I drank coffee, logged readings, answered one normal radio call from a maintenance truck leaving the lower access road. Watched stars wheel slowly above the domes. It would have been beautiful if I could forget the rule sheet sitting beside me. At 10:41 p.m., someone buzzed the main gate. The alert appeared on the security panel. "Main gate intercom active." I checked the printed schedule. No visitors, no incoming staff, no maintenance. Rule 8. Do not allow visitors, researchers, or staff into the facility after 10 p.m. unless their name appears on the printed schedule. I opened the camera feed. A man stood outside the gate. He wore jeans, a dark jacket, and a baseball cap. His pickup truck sat behind him, with headlights on. He looked cold, annoyed, and very real. I pressed the intercom. "Mesa Alta Observatory, can I help you?" The man leaned toward the speaker. "Finally, I'm Dr. Linden. I'm scheduled for Dome B tonight." I checked the schedule again. Dome B remote session, University of Arizona team. Lead researcher, Dr. Amara Singh. No Linden. "I'm sorry, sir, I don't have you on tonight's access list." He looked over his shoulder toward the sky. "I was added last minute. I can't admit anyone after 10 unless they're on the printed schedule." His expression hardened. "Then call Park." I considered it. Then I remembered Dr. Park's wording. Printed schedule. Not digital. Not verbal. Printed. "Dr. Park is unavailable," I said. "She knows me." "I still can't open the gate." The man leaned closer to the camera. His face filled the monitor. For 1 second, the video glitched. His eyes shifted too far apart, then snapped back. "Listen," he said, voice suddenly quieter. "You need to let me in." "No, sir. The sky is too close out here." My hand went cold on the mouse. Rule 15. If someone asks to be let in because the sky is too close, do not unlock the door. I took my finger off the intercom button. The man stared into the camera. "Hello?" I did not answer. He looked up. Not at the camera, at the sky. His face changed. Fear. Real fear. Or a perfect imitation of it. "Please," he whispered. "It's coming down." I muted the feed. He began pounding on the gate. The camera shook with each impact. Then his pickup headlights turned off. Not dimmed. Off. The entire gate camera went black. A few seconds later, the panel read, "Main gate clear." I did not log it. I don't know why. Maybe because I didn't want to write the phrase, "The sky is too close," in an official report during my first shift. Maybe because some part of me already understood that writing things down gave them weight. At 11:26 p.m., the printer started. It sat behind the center console, an old office printer used for logs, schedules, and automatic alerts. I hadn't sent anything to it. The machine clicked, warmed, and printed 1 page. Rule 9. If the printer produces coordinates you did not request, fold the paper twice and place it in the red drawer. I walked over slowly. The paper slid out. On it were coordinates. No title. No timestamp. Just 2 lines of numbers. Underneath, in plain black text, was a sentence. "Do not point, Dome C, here again. Again." That word made my stomach tighten. I folded the page twice. There was a red drawer under the printer. I hadn't noticed it before, but there it was, bright red metal with no label. Inside were dozens of folded pages, some yellowed, some fresh, some folded with trembling hands, judging from the creases. I put mine inside and closed the drawer. The printer clicked once, like approval. At 11:58 p.m., I checked all systems. Domes A and B normal. Dome C closed, weather stable, no gate activity, no alerts. I looked at Rule 1 again. Do not look through any telescope between 12 a.m. and 4 a.m. No exceptions, easy. I had no reason to go into the domes. At midnight, Dome C opened by itself. The status panel turned yellow. Dome C, opening. I watched the indicator move from closed to open. No command history, no scheduled run, no operator input. Outside the control room window, Dome C's white shutter slid apart under the stars. I forgot to breathe. Rule 2. If Dome C opens by itself, log the time, close the control room blinds, and do not attempt remote closure for 11 minutes. I wrote in the log, 0000. Dome C opened without command. Then I closed the blinds over the control room window. The moment I did, something knocked from inside Dome C. The sound came through the building, not loud, not metallic. 3 soft knocks. Tap, tap, tap. Rule 11 said if I heard knocking from inside a telescope dome, check the exterior cameras before opening any door. But Rule 2 told me not to attempt remote closure for 11 minutes. It did not say anything about checking cameras. I pulled up Dome C exterior feed. The camera showed the outside of the dome, open under the night sky. Nothing else. Then a second figure appeared on the feed. Me, standing outside Dome C, wearing my gray hoodie, looking directly at the camera. I was sitting in the control room. My hands left the keyboard. Rule 12. If the camera feed shows you standing outside, turn off every monitor except weather and wait for the feed to correct. I turned off monitor 1, monitor 2, dome feeds, tracking feed, security panel, schedule display. Only weather remained. A simple gray screen with wind speed, humidity, temperature, barometric pressure. For 3 minutes, the control room was lit only by weather and the emergency exit sign. The knocking from Dome C continued. Tap, tap, tap. Then the intercom above the console crackled. My own voice came through. Open the door. Rule 13. Do not speak aloud if the intercom repeats your last sentence. But it hadn't repeated my last sentence. It had spoken on its own. Maybe that meant I could speak. Maybe that was the trap. I said nothing. The voice came again. Open the door, I forgot my badge. I looked at the weather monitor. Wind speed, 0 miles per hour. Humidity, 12%. Temperature, 48 degrees Fahrenheit. Sky condition, clear. Then the bottom line changed. Sky condition, watching. I turned away from the screen. The intercom clicked. This time it used Owen's voice. Hey man, I'm locked in C, not funny. I stayed silent. Seriously, open the dome access. Nothing. Please, something's in here with me. I closed my eyes. The knocking stopped. The intercom hissed. Then Owen's voice whispered, Good, you learn fast. At 12:11 a.m., exactly 11 minutes after Dome C opened, every monitor turned itself back on. Dome C status, closed. The exterior feed showed nothing. No open shutter. No me standing outside. No movement. Just a closed dome under stars. I sat there shaking, unable to touch the controls for almost a full minute. Then I noticed the log. I had written only one line earlier. Now there was another beneath it. 0011. It knocked back. I had not written that. At 12:42 a.m., the star tracker flagged an object. A red alert appeared on Dome B's monitoring screen. Tracking object. Home Rule 3. If the star tracker identifies an object as home, shut off the monitor and notify no one until morning. My fingers moved quickly this time. I shut off the Dome B monitor. Immediately, the remote researcher chat box opened on another screen. Dr. Singh. Why did feed cut? Dr. Singh. We lost target. Dr. Singh. Mesa Alta. Respond. I hovered over the keyboard. Notify no one until morning. I did not respond. Dr. Singh. We are seeing something on backup feed. Dr. Singh. Is that the moon? My eyes flicked toward Rule 7. If the moon appears in the wrong phase, do not photograph it. I shut off the chat monitor too. The control room lights dimmed. From outside, through the closed blinds, a pale glow filled the edges of the window. Too bright, too silver. I knew the moon had been a thin crescent earlier. I had seen it during the walk from the gate. Now the light outside looked full. huge, close. I did not open the blinds. The researcher chat printed itself from the printer, line by line. Dr. Singh, Mesa Alta, there is a circular object in frame. Dr. Singh, it has surface detail. Dr. Singh, it is not the moon. Dr. Singh, it is looking back. The printer stopped. I folded the paper twice and put it in the red drawer. Even though there were no coordinates on it, it felt like the safest thing to do. At 1:06 a.m., the desert lights appeared. I saw them on the security panel because the monitors were back on by then. 3 small lights moving across the desert south of the facility. White, steady, too low to be aircraft, too far from any road. Rule 5. If you see lights moving in the desert where there should be no road, do not mark them on the map. So I didn't. I watched them for a few seconds, then forced myself to look away. The lights continued moving across the camera feed. Then one stopped, then the second, then the third. They turned toward the observatory. I know lights can't turn. These did. At 1:10 a.m., the south hallway door opened. I nearly jumped out of my chair. The south hallway led to storage, the old spectrograph room, the restroom, and the mechanical closet. 4 doors. Rule 6. The south hallway has 4 doors. If you count 5, return to the control room without opening any of them. I stood at the entrance and counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A 5th door stood at the end. It was narrow, old, and wooden. Every other door in Mesa Alta was gray metal. This one looked like it belonged in a house. Light glowed underneath it. Warm yellow light, the kind that comes from a kitchen late at night. Behind it, I heard someone washing dishes. Then a woman humming. My mother. Not her voice. Her humming. The same tune she used when I was little and sick, and she wanted me to think everything was okay. I stepped backward. The humming stopped. A chair scraped behind the 5th door. My mother said, "Honey? No, nope, absolutely not." I backed into the control room. The 5th door clicked open. I slammed the south hallway door shut and locked it. I didn't know it had a lock until I needed one. From the other side, my mother knocked gently. "Did you eat?" I sat behind the console and gripped the rule binder. My mother died when I was 22. Cancer. Slow. Ugly. Real. The voice behind that door was not her. The south hallway door knocked again. Tap, tap, tap. Then my mother said, "The sky is too close in here." I put my hands over my ears until she stopped. At 1:13 a.m., the observation deck camera turned on by itself. Rule 10. At 1:13 a.m., do not be on the observation deck. I wasn't, but the camera feed showed someone standing there. Dr. Park. She wore her sleeping clothes and a heavy coat, barefoot on the concrete deck, staring straight up at the sky. I grabbed the radio, then stopped. Was she really there? Or was this like the camera showing me outside? The feed zoomed in without command. Dr. Park's mouth moved. The intercom played her voice. It seized the facility. I switched on the exterior audio. Wind hissed across the deck. "Doctor." Park whispered, "It sees the new one." Me, I reached for the phone to call her trailer. Before I could, the control room door opened. Dr. Park walked in, fully dressed, awake, very much not on the deck. She looked at the monitor, then at me. "Turn that off." I did. She crossed the room and shut down the deck camera feed manually. "How long was it on?" "Maybe 10 seconds. "Did it speak?" "Yes." "What did it say?" I hesitated. Her eyes sharpened. "It said it sees the new one." Dr. Park closed her eyes briefly. "Of course it does." I stood. "What is happening?" She looked at the blinds, silver light still pressed around the edges. "You're doing well. That isn't an answer. No, it's what matters right now." I saw someone at the gate. Dome C opened. The printer gave coordinates. My mother was behind a door that doesn't exist, and something that looked like you was on the observation deck. Dr. Park looked tired, older than she had during the interview. "Mesa Alta was built to study the sky," she said. "That means sometimes the sky studies back." I stared at her. "That's insane." "Yes. You knew this would happen?" "I knew something would happen. First nights attract attention." "Why hire new people, then?" Her mouth tightened. For a moment, I thought she wouldn't answer. Then she said, "Because the observatory needs a night shift." That was not enough, not even close. Before I could say that, every monitor in the control room went black. The emergency light above the door turned red. Outside the closed blinds, the silver glow vanished. The building fell into darkness. Not normal darkness. Complete. Absolute. The kind of dark where your own hands disappear. Rule 14. If the desert goes completely dark, sit under the emergency light until the stars return. Dr. Park grabbed my arm. Under the light. We moved to the red emergency light by the east exit and sat on the floor. All around us, Mesa Alta went silent. No generator hum, no fans, no telescope motors, no computer noise, no wind, nothing. The dark pressed against the windows. Dr. Park whispered, "Do not speak." That was not on the list, but I obeyed. For a while, there was only darkness and red light. Then something huge moved above the building. I felt it more than heard it. A pressure. Like the entire sky had lowered an inch. The domes creaked. Metal groaned. The control room window trembled behind the blinds. Something tapped the glass. Once, twice, 3 times. I stared at the floor. Dr. Park's hand tightened around my wrist. The tapping moved across the window. Slowly. Too slowly. Like a fingernail tracing the glass from outside. Except the control room window faced an enclosed courtyard between domes. No one could reach it without being inside the facility. A voice spoke from the dark beyond the blinds. Not human. Not exactly. It sounded like radio static learning to whisper. "Observer." Dr. Park did not move. "Observer," it said again. The red emergency light flickered. "New observer." My mouth went dry. The darkness outside the light shifted. I could feel it noticing me. Then, from somewhere far above us, a telescope began to move. Mechanical rotation. Low, steady. Dr. Park looked up sharply. "No," she whispered. "Rule 18. If the telescope turns toward the control room window, leave the building through the east exit and do not look back." Through the wall, I heard the dome rotating. Not Dome A, not Dome B, Dome C, the old one, the wrong one. It turned slowly, gears whining, metal settling. The blinds over the control room window began to glow, not silver now, red, like sunrise from the wrong direction. Dr. Park stood. "East exit, now!" We ran. Behind us, the control room blinds lifted by themselves. I did not look back. The east exit was at the end of a short corridor beside the server closet. Dr. Park shoved the crash bar. The door did not open. She shoved again. Nothing. From behind us, glass cracked. The control room window. The telescope was looking in. Dr. Park pulled a key from her pocket and jammed it into the override. "Don't look back," she said. "I'm not." But my brain wanted to. It wanted to see. That was the horror of it. Not just fear, curiosity, the The same stupid human instinct that built observatories in the first place. The same instinct that says, look closer, no more. The east door opened. Cold desert air rushed in. Dr. Park pushed me outside. Run to the generator shed. What about you? Run. Behind her, from inside the building, my mother's voice said, he never ate dinner. Dr. Park flinched, not at the voice, at something else. A second voice, a child's voice. Celine! For the first time since I'd met her, Dr. Park looked terrified. The child's voice came again from the control room. Mom! Dr. Park turned her head, just slightly. No! I shouted. Too late. She looked back. Inside the building, red light filled the corridor. Dr. Park's face went blank. Then something in the control room spoke with her voice. Observation accepted. The east door slammed shut between us. I was alone outside. The desert sky had returned. Stars blazed overhead. Too many stars. Constellations I didn't recognize twisted between familiar ones. Rule 16. If you see a constellation you do not recognize, stop looking at the sky and count backward from 100. I dropped my eyes to the dirt. 100, I whispered. 99. 98. Behind me, through the east door, Dr. Park screamed. I kept counting. 97, 96, 95. The generator shed was 30 yards away. Between me and it stood a figure, a man in a baseball cap, the gate visitor, Dr. Linden. He stared upward with both hands over his head, as if holding something away. The sky is too close, he whispered. I kept my eyes down. 94, 93. He stepped toward me. Let me in. 92. He bent until his face was near mine. Let me in. 91. His hand touched my shoulder. Cold. Wrong. 90. A siren began wailing from inside the observatory. Not an alarm I had been shown. Not fire. Not weather. Something deeper. The domes opened all at once. A, B, and C. Their shutters spread under the impossible stars. Every telescope began rotating, not toward the sky, toward me. I could feel them, 3 huge instruments turning on their mounts, aligning, focusing. A voice came over every outdoor speaker. Dr. Park's voice, calm, empty. New observer acquired. I ran toward the generator shed with my eyes on the ground. Behind me, the telescopes locked into place. And above the desert, something in the sky opened its eye. I ran with my eyes on the ground. That was the only reason I made it to the generator shed. I'm sure of that now. The desert around me had changed. I could feel it without looking up. The air had weight. The stars were no longer just stars. They pressed down on the mesa with a kind of cold attention, like thousands of eyes leaning closer to a microscope slide. Behind me, all 3 observatory domes were open. I heard them moving, huge metal structures rotating in the dark, motors whining, gears grinding, telescopes adjusting on their mounts, not toward galaxies, not toward nebulae, not toward whatever remote researchers had scheduled for the night, toward me. The outdoor speakers crackled again. Dr. Park's voice came through them. Calm. Empty. New observer acquired. I almost looked back. It was a stupid instinct, but it was strong. When something says your role has changed, you want to see what changed with it. You want to understand what is behind you. You want to know how bad the danger is. That is how places like Mesa Alta get you. They make curiosity feel like survival. I kept my chin down and stared at the gravel. 100, I whispered. 99, 98. Rule 16. If you see a constellation you do not recognize, stop looking at the sky and count backward from 100. I had already seen too much of the sky. I had seen unfamiliar constellations twisting between familiar ones, shapes that did not belong there, stars arranged in patterns that made my eyes ache. I didn't know if counting helped because it had power or because it kept the mind too busy to listen. Either way, I counted. 97, 96. The generator shed was maybe 30 yards away. It looked farther. The desert around the observatory should have been open and flat, but the darkness between me and the shed seemed deeper than before. The ground stretched in strange ways. The gravel path curved when it should have gone straight. The shadows under the fuel tanks looked too tall. A man stood beside the shed door. The same man from the front gate. The one who had claimed to be Dr. Linden. The one who had said, "The sky is too close." He stood under the yellow security light, baseball cap pulled low, hands in his jacket pockets. His truck was nowhere in sight. I kept my eyes on his boots. 95, 94. He spoke softly as I got closer. "You're going the wrong way." I didn't answer. 93. "The building is behind you." 92. "Dr. Park is still inside." 91. She looked back because she heard something real. My steps faltered, just slightly. The man noticed. "She has a child," he said. "Did she tell you that?" 90. "She had a child." I kept walking. 89. "You heard him?" The shed door was closed now. 88. "He's still in there." My hand closed around the shed key. The man stepped in front of the door. I still did not look at his face. He leaned down until the brim of his cap entered the top of my vision. "You think rules make you moral," he whispered. "They don't. They only make you obedient." I shoved the key into the lock. It turned. The man did not move. For one horrifying second, I thought I would have to touch him. Then the outdoor speakers blared. "Observation lock complete." The man flinched, just a small movement, but enough. I pushed past him, yanked the shed door open, and stumbled inside. The moment I crossed the threshold, the pressure above me lessened. Not disappeared, lessened, like stepping under a roof during hail. I slammed the door behind me and locked it. Then I backed away until my shoulders hit the generator casing. The shed was hot, loud, and cramped. The main generator shook on its concrete base, filling the space with a steady mechanical roar. Red and green lights blinked along its panel. The air smelled of diesel, warm metal, dust, and old insulation. For a moment, that smell almost comforted me. Machines were simple. Machines didn't whisper your mother's voice from impossible hallways. Machines didn't ask to be let in because the sky was too close. Then the generator display flickered. The screen changed from normal voltage readings to a single line of text. "Do not let them see you thinking." I stared at it. The line vanished. The voltage display returned. Someone knocked on the shed door. Tap, tap, tap. I stopped breathing. The man outside spoke through the metal. "You can't stay in there forever." I did not answer. The knock came again. Tap, tap, tap. Then Dr. Park's voice came from the other side of the door, not from the speakers, not from the intercom. Right outside. "Open the door." I pressed myself harder against the generator. "Open the door," she repeated. "That is an instruction." My hand twitched toward the lock. The old workplace instinct was still there. The director gives an instruction. You obey, especially when you're new, especially when you're scared of getting fired, especially when you still want to believe this is a workplace with rules written by humans. Then I heard something beneath her voice. A second layer, soft static, not like radio interference, like dry sand pouring through teeth. Dr. Park said, "Night assistant, open the door immediately." I said nothing. Her voice sharpened. "I can see you through the generator casing." The generator display changed again. "She can." Then it went back to normal. The shed door rattled once, hard. Then everything outside went silent. I waited for another knock. None came. The generator ran steadily. The yellow emergency light above the door buzzed. Somewhere inside the shed, paper fluttered. I turned. A clipboard hung on the wall near a manual breaker panel. I hadn't noticed it when I ran in. The top sheet was covered in typed instructions. Emergency blind procedure for observational reverse lock events. I pulled it off the wall. The page had been laminated, but the plastic was old and cloudy, warped by heat. Some lines were smudged. Others had been circled in red marker. If all active telescopes orient toward occupied facility space, visual contact must be broken within 7 minutes. Step 1. Do not cross open ground while under observation. Step 2. Cut tracking power to Dome C first. Step 3. Wait for Dome C to stop rotating before cutting power to Domes A and B. Step 4. Do not restore power if any telescope continues moving after disconnect. Step 5. If a human voice requests restoration from inside any dome, ignore it. Step 6. If Dome C points below the horizon, wake the director and evacuate the site. At the bottom, someone had written by hand, "If the director has looked back, do not wake her." I read that line 3 times. Dr. Park had looked back. The child's voice had called her from inside the observatory. She had turned. Then something had spoken with her voice. Observation accepted. So I could not wake her. I could not open the door. I could not cross the open ground. And according to the procedure, I had 7 minutes to break visual contact. I looked around the shed. There was a breaker panel on the wall. 3 large switches were labeled. Dome, a tracking dome. B, tracking dome. C, tracking Dome C first. I grabbed the handle for Dome C and pulled. It resisted, not mechanically, deliberately, like something on the other end pulled back. The generator groaned. The lights flickered. Outside, Dome C's motor whined louder. The switch would not move. A voice came from the corner of the shed. "Owen says you're doing it wrong." I turned too fast. A woman stood between the fuel cans and the spare cable rack. She wore a lab coat over pajamas and a blanket around her shoulders. Her feet were bare. Her hair floated slightly around her face, as if she were underwater. I knew she wasn't there. I knew she couldn't be there. Still, my brain tried to make sense of her. She was maybe in her 30s, tired eyes, thin face, a badge clipped to her coat, Dr. L. Meyer. I didn't recognize the name. The woman looked at the breaker panel and smiled sadly. "You have to ask it to let go." I did not speak. Her smile faded. "Good, don't talk yet. It's still listening through her." She glanced toward the shed door. Dr. Park's voice came from outside again. "Open the door. We need to correct the observation." The woman in the lab coat whispered, "Don't correct anything." I gripped the breaker handle. The woman stepped closer. "Dome C isn't a telescope anymore. Not fully. It's a habit. Habits can be interrupted, but not forced." I stared at her. She sighed. "You're new. I forget how useless that sounds." Then she pointed to the clipboard. "Read the back." I flipped it over. There was a handwritten list on the reverse side. Not rules exactly, more like emergency notes. C does not close because we command it. C closes because it thinks it has finished looking. Do not show it fear. Do not show it recognition. Do not show it your name. Show it weather. Weather. The one monitor I had been told to leave on earlier. The one safe screen. The woman nodded like she could see the connection forming in my face. Give it something too boring to notice? I turned to the generator panel. There was a small auxiliary terminal connected to the observatory systems. A maintenance screen showed several routing options. I didn't know enough to operate it confidently, but I knew enough to be dangerous. I found the feed controls and redirected weather output to Dome C's tracking system. Wind speed, humidity, pressure, temperature, cloud cover, numbers, meaningless, repetitive, earthly numbers. Dome C's motor screamed. The shed shook. The breaker handle loosened. I pulled. This time, it snapped down. Dome C tracking went dark. Outside, something huge stopped moving. The pressure above the shed shifted. The woman in the lab coat closed her eyes in relief. Good. Who are you? I whispered before I could stop myself. The shed went silent, except for the generator. The woman's eyes opened, sad. You shouldn't have asked. The generator display flashed. Name given equals target invited. The woman stepped backward, her edges blurred. My name is no one you can help, she said quickly. Remember that. Then she vanished. The shed door shook violently. Dr. Park's voice screamed from outside. Dome C is blind, not angry. Afraid. That fear almost made me open the door. Almost. Then the outdoor speakers crackled. A new voice spoke. Not Dr. Park, not Owen, not my mother. A deep, slow voice that seemed too large for the speakers. Dome C is blind. The words rolled across the desert. The generator display flickered. Cut A. I pulled the Dome A breaker. This one moved easily. Too easily. The switch snapped down. Immediately, Dome A's status light went black. Outside, one of the great telescopes stopped tracking me. The relief nearly dropped me to my knees. Then the shed roof dented inward. Once, hard. Something had landed on top of it. Dust fell from the ceiling. The yellow emergency light swung. A hand dragged slowly across the metal roof. Not a human hand. Too many fingers. Too far apart. The generator display flashed again. Cut B. I reached for the Dome B breaker. Before I could pull it, the shed intercom clicked on. Owen's voice said, "Don't cut B." I froze. "Seriously," he said. "Don't. Dome B is still connected to the university feed. If you shut it down, they'll know something is wrong." That sounded reasonable. That was the problem. It was exactly the kind of thing a real technician would say. The thing on the roof dragged another hand across the metal. Owen continued. "You're new. You don't want to be responsible for killing a research run. Just leave B up and come back inside." I stared at the breaker. Dome B tracking. Owen's voice softened. "Dr. Park is okay." "No. She's asking for you." "No. She said you did well." My hand closed around the breaker. Owen said, "If you cut B, you'll never know what home was." That was the hook. Not praise, not fear. Knowledge. The red alert from earlier. Tracking. Object. Home. The researcher chat. It is looking back. Something inside me wanted to know. Not because I was brave, because I was human. That is the part no one tells you about forbidden knowledge. It doesn't feel evil. It feels unfinished. It feels like a loose thread in your mind that your fingers can't stop reaching for. I pulled the breaker. Dome B died. The shed plunged into emergency power only. Outside, the last telescope stopped moving. The weight above me lifted. The thing on the roof screamed. It sounded like metal tearing. Then it leapt away. Silence fell over the desert. For the first time since I had run from the east exit, the night felt like night again. The stars were still there, but I could breathe. I waited. 1 minute, 2, 3. Nothing knocked. Nothing spoke. The generator display returned to normal. I almost laughed. Then the door handle turned. Slowly. It was locked. The handle turned anyway. The shed door opened. Dr. Park stood outside. She was alive. At least, she looked alive. Her hair was disheveled. Her face was pale. One side of her mouth was bleeding. Her eyes were normal, focused, and terrified. "Do not let me in," she said. I stepped back. She gripped the doorframe with both hands. Her knuckles were white. "Listen carefully," she said. "I have about 30 seconds where I am myself." I didn't move. Dome C established reverse observation. It used my memory to make me look back. The child. Her face broke for 1 second. "My son." "I'm sorry." "No time." She swallowed hard. "If I ask you to open any dome, ignore me. If I ask for the red drawer, burn it. If I tell you to point at home, disable the array." "What is home?" Her eyes filled with fear. "Not ours." The generator light flickered. Dr. Park looked over her shoulder toward the observatory, then back at me. "The first rule is incomplete." I thought of Rule 1. Do not look through any telescope between 12 a.m. and 4 a.m. "No exceptions," I said. "That's not the missing part." She leaned closer, but did not cross the threshold. "The telescope can look through you." The words sank into me slowly. "What does that mean?" Her expression changed. Something behind her eyes shifted. She noticed it too. She looked down and whispered, "It's coming back." "Dr. Park?" She lifted one hand, not toward me, toward herself. "Close the door." I hesitated. She looked up. Her eyes were already wrong, too reflective, too full of stars. "Close it now." I slammed the shed door. Something hit it from the other side, almost instantly, hard enough to buckle the metal. "Doctor." Park's voice screamed, "Let me in!" Then the child's voice screamed with her, "Let Mom in!" Then both voices stopped. The generator died. Total darkness filled the shed. No indicator lights, no emergency lamp, no hum, nothing. Rule 14 had said if the desert went completely dark, sit under the emergency light until the stars returned. But there was no emergency light now. There were no stars. There was only dark. And in that dark, the shed became much larger. I could feel the space around me open. The walls moved away. The concrete floor beneath my boots became cold stone. My breathing echoed. Not in a shed, in a dome. I reached out and touched nothing. The generator was gone. The door was gone. Everything was gone. Then a circular slit of light opened above me. A dome shutter. I was inside Dome C. I knew it before I saw the telescope. I heard it breathing. That sounds impossible. I know. But it breathed. A huge machine in the dark. Metal cooling and settling like lungs filling slowly. A faint red light glowed from the control panel. The telescope stood in the center of the dome, angled downward, not at the sky, at me. Its primary mirror reflected no face, only stars. I remembered Rule 1. Do not look through any telescope between midnight and 4, no exceptions. But this was worse. I wasn't looking through it. It was looking through me. A voice came from the observation chair beside the telescope. "Don't move too quickly." Owen sat there. Real Owen. Maybe. He was strapped into the chair with cable ties around his chest and wrists. His face was bruised. His lips were cracked. He looked like he had been there for hours. "Are you real?" I whispered. He gave a weak laugh. "Bad question." "Are you alive?" "Better, yes." "What happened?" He looked at the telescope. "Sea opened before sunset. Park went to check it. I followed. Something came through the alignment feed. Not physically, more like an instruction that got inside the equipment. Then, inside us." He swallowed. "It took her first, because she looked at the mirror." I kept my eyes away from the telescope. "How did I get here?" "You didn't. That's not helpful. This is where C wants you to think you are. Your body might still be in the shed, or outside, or standing in front of the control room window. Don't trust location." "How do I get out?" "Blinded. I cut the power." "Power isn't sight." Owen jerked his chin toward the far wall. There was a red canvas cover hanging on a hook, a dust cover for the mirror. "You have to cover the primary." I looked at the telescope. The mirror was angled toward me, shining with impossible stars. How? Without looking into it, that seemed impossible. Owen smiled weakly. "Yeah, we all hate that part." A knock came from outside the dome door. Tap, tap, tap. Then Dr. Park's voice. "Owen?" His face went white. "Don't answer." "Owen, I know you're in there." He closed his eyes. "She isn't talking to me." The voice came again, this time softer. "Owen, please. He's awake." Owen's breathing changed. I understood. Not just Dr. Park, not just me. Mesa Alta had learned everyone's soft place. For Dr. Park, her son. For me, my mother. For Owen, someone I didn't know. A brother, a partner, a child, someone. I moved toward the red cover, keeping my eyes on the floor. The telescope motor clicked. Once. The mirror adjusted slightly, trying to catch my gaze. I froze. Owen whispered, "It wants recognition. Doesn't need much. A glance, a reflection, a thought with shape." I reached the wall and grabbed the cover. It was heavier than expected. Thick canvas lined with something metallic. The moment I lifted it, every star reflected on the telescope mirror brightened. The dome filled with whispering, not voices exactly, coordinates, numbers, names of stars, distances, spectral classes, radio bursts, untranslated signals, all pouring into my head at once. I saw a star die. I saw dust become planets. I saw something move between galaxies like a fish beneath ice. I saw Earth from very far away. Then closer, closer, closer. New Mexico, the mesa, the observatory, the generator shed, a person standing outside it. Me. I stumbled. The mirror had caught me. Not my eyes, my thought. Owen shouted, "Stop thinking about where you are!" That is like being told not to bleed. The telescope began to rotate, slowly, tracking me. I dragged the cover toward it. My eyes stayed down, but the mirror's light was everywhere now. Reflections shimmered on the metal floor, on the curved wall, on Owen's tears, on the buckles of the straps holding him down. Every surface became a way to look. I closed my eyes. The whispering grew louder. Without sight, the images moved inside me. Home. That word appeared in my mind, not written, felt. Home. I saw my childhood kitchen, my mother at the sink, humming, the south hallway's fifth door, warm yellow light, a place to rest, a place where I would not have to run anymore. I almost opened my eyes. Instead, I threw the canvas forward blindly. For 1 second, nothing happened. Then Owen shouted, "Again!" The cover had caught on the telescope frame, not the mirror. I pulled it back and threw again. This time, the canvas landed over the primary mirror. The dome screamed. All the stars went out. I fell backward onto the floor. The false dome sea vanished. The shed returned around me in a violent rush of diesel smell, concrete, hot metal, and darkness. The generator coughed. Once, twice, then restarted. The emergency light flickered on. I was lying on the floor of the generator shed with the red canvas cover clutched in both hands. The shed door was still closed. No Owen, no dome sea, no telescope. But there was something new on the floor beside me. A cable tie, cut cleanly. Then the radio clipped to my belt crackled. Owen's voice came through, weak, real. "I'm in Dome C." I grabbed the radio. "Owen, don't come yet," he said quickly. "Listen. Are you hurt?" "Yes, listen." Behind his voice, I heard knocking. Tap, tap, tap. "I'm strapped in," he said. "I can't look away much longer. You told me to cover the mirror. You did for yourself, not here." The knocking behind him grew louder. "Park is outside the dome door," he whispered, "or something wearing her." I stood. The emergency procedure said, if Dome C pointed below the horizon, wake the director and evacuate. But the handwritten note had changed that. If the director has looked back, do not wake her. Owen said, "There's a manual shutter wheel in the dome. If you close it from inside, it might hold until sunrise." "What happens to you?" He laughed once, breathless and terrified. "Bad question." The generator panel flashed. "Do not enter Dome C." Then another line appeared. "He is already observed." Owen whispered through the radio, "Don't trust the panel. It's connected to C." The panel changed. Owen is not on schedule. The printed schedule. Rule 8. Visitors, researchers, or staff after 10 p.m. only if their name appears on the printed schedule. Owen was day shift. Was his name on tonight's printed schedule? I didn't know. The radio crackled. Owen said, "Check the schedule." I froze. "I didn't say that out loud," I whispered. Owen went silent. Then, very softly, he said, "No, you didn't." The radio hissed. When Owen spoke again, his voice was too calm. "Open the shed door." I lowered the radio. The generator panel displayed one word. "Run." The shed door unlocked itself. Outside, the observatory speakers turned on. Dr. Park's voice spoke across the mesa. "It has learned the schedule." The generator shed walls began to creak inward. The red canvas cover in my hands twitched like something was pushing against it from the other side. I ran. I threw open the shed door and bolted into the desert, eyes down, canvas cover under one arm. The sky above me was still wrong. I could feel unfamiliar constellations turning. But the domes were dark now. A and B were blind. C was covered somewhere in the false space inside my head, but not in reality. I had to reach the observatory. The east exit was shut. The control room window glowed faintly red behind the blinds. The south hallway was not an option. The observation deck was not an option. The only open path was the service entrance near Dome C. Of course it was. Halfway there, the clock on my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out without thinking. 3:33 a.m. Rule 17. If the clock reads 3:33 twice, wake Dr. Park, but do not say why over the intercom. The display flickered. 3:34. I exhaled. Then it flickered again. 3:33, twice. My legs nearly stopped. Wake Dr. Park. But Dr. Park had looked back. Do not wake her. 2 rules, both impossible. A voice spoke from the service entrance. Dr. Park stood there, dry-eyed, calm, normal, too normal. "You know what the rule says," she called. I gripped the canvas cover. She smiled, gently. "Wake me." Behind her, inside the dark corridor, a child whispered, "Mom is sleeping." The stars above the mesa brightened. The telescopes inside the dead domes began moving again without power, and Dr. Park opened the service door wider. "Come inside," she said. "We need to talk about home." "Come inside," Dr. Park said. "We need to talk about home." She stood in the service entrance near Dome C, holding the door open with one hand. Behind her, the corridor was dark, not unlit. Dark. The kind of dark that seemed to have depth. The kind that did not sit inside a hallway so much as replace it. Somewhere behind her, a child whispered, "Mom is sleeping." The clock on my phone still read 3:33 a.m. It had read 3:33 twice. Rule 17 said if the clock did that, I had to wake Dr. Park. But Dr. Park was standing in front of me, or something was. The other note said if the director had looked back, do not wake her. The first rule said not to look through any telescope. Dr. Park had said the telescope could look through me. The rules were no longer protecting me by being clear. They were testing whether I understood why they existed. I looked at Dr. Park's shoes. Not her face, not her eyes. Her shoes. Dusty black boots. The same ones she had worn earlier. Dry. Completely dry. That should have comforted me. It didn't. "Are you awake?" I asked. She smiled. "That depends on what you mean." Bad answer. Very bad answer. The child in the corridor whispered again. "Mom is sleeping." Dr. Park's smile faltered. For 1 second, pain moved across her face. Real pain. Human pain. Then it vanished. "Bring me the red drawer," she said. I tightened my grip on the canvas cover under my arm. Earlier, when she had been herself, she told me something important. If I ask for the red drawer, burn it. I took 1 step back. Dr. Park noticed. "You don't understand what's inside it," she said. "Coordinates. Doors." The word made the night feel colder. Every coordinate printed here is a place where it almost came through. Every folded page is an avoided opening. If we destroy them, we lose the map. If we keep them, her eyes lifted slightly. I still did not meet them. If we keep them, she said, eventually one opens. Inside the corridor, the child began to hum. A sleepy, broken melody. A mother's song. Dr. Park's hand tightened on the door frame. She was fighting it. I could see that now. Whatever had hold of her was not in full control. Not yet. "Dr. Park," I said carefully, "what is home?" Her breathing stopped. The child stopped humming. The desert around us went silent. Even the wind seemed to wait. "Doctor." Park looked up at the sky. I did not follow her gaze. "Home," she said, "is what the telescope calls something when it recognizes an origin point." Origin point for what? For observation. I didn't understand. She laughed softly, but it sounded like crying. "We thought we were the observers. That was the first mistake. We built mirrors, lenses, sensors, arrays, dishes, trackers. We pointed them outward and assumed distance made us safe." The stars above brightened. I felt them without looking. She continued. "Then Dome C found something that pointed back." "The object?" "No," she whispered. "The place behind the object." The corridor behind her stretched. I saw it happen, even with my eyes down. The floor line moved farther away. The walls lengthened. The emergency lights became tiny red dots in a tunnel that should only have been 20 feet long. Dr. Park's voice lowered. "It does not travel. It notices. And when enough attention runs both ways, distance becomes irrelevant." The child whispered, "Mom, I'm cold." Dr. Park flinched hard enough that she almost let go of the door. I took another step back. "Close the door," I said. Her mouth trembled. "I can't." "Yes, you can." Her eyes filled with tears. "No," she whispered. "I want to see him." That was the moment I understood the real danger at Mesa Alta. It wasn't the telescopes. It wasn't the sky. It wasn't even home. It was longing. Every rule existed because, at some point, someone had wanted to look, answer, open, photograph, record, help, understand, or believe. The observatory didn't force people all at once. It gave them a reason. I shifted the canvas cover under my arm and reached for the small utility knife clipped to my belt. Not a weapon, not really, but enough. "What was your son's name?" I asked. Dr. Park's face changed. The thing inside her smiled. "Careful," I ignored it. "What was his name?" Her lips parted. The child's voice came from the dark corridor. "Don't tell him, Mom." I stepped closer, not toward the door, toward her. "What was his name?" Dr. Park's eyes focused on me for 1 second. "Leo," she whispered. The corridor behind her screamed. Not the child, the corridor. The dark stretched and tore like fabric. Dr. Park stumbled forward, 1 foot crossing the threshold. I grabbed her sleeve and pulled. For half a second, I thought I had her. Then something pulled back, hard. Her body jerked toward the dark hallway, her face twisted in terror. "Don't let go," she gasped. I wrapped both hands around her arm. The child's voice became huge. "Mom!" The sky pressed downward. My ears popped. The stars flashed white through my closed eyelids, even though I was looking at the ground. Dr. Park screamed. I pulled with everything I had. Then I remembered the canvas cover, the mirror cover, the thing that blinded Dome C in whatever false place it had dragged me into. I let go with one hand, unfolded the cover, and threw it over Dr. Park's head and shoulders. The pull stopped instantly. She collapsed forward onto the ground outside the service entrance, wrapped in red canvas and shaking violently. The service door slammed shut. The child screamed from inside. A real furious scream now, not sad, not lonely, furious. I dragged Dr. Park away from the door. She curled on her side under the canvas, sobbing, "Leo, Leo, Leo," over and over again. I knelt beside her. "Dr. Park, listen to me." She did not stop. "Dr. Park." The service door dented outward, once, then again. Something inside wanted out. I grabbed her shoulders through the cover. "Celine!" Her sobbing stopped. She pulled the canvas down just enough for me to see one eye. It was human again, wet, bloodshot, terrified, but human. I looked back, she whispered. "I know. I knew not to. I know. He sounded exactly like him. I know." She sat up slowly, still clutching the canvas around herself like a blanket. The service door dented again. "We have to burn the red drawer," I said. She closed her eyes. "Yes." "And Dome C?" She looked toward the dome. The shutter was open. The telescope inside was moving again, even though I had cut tracking power, its long barrel lowered by slow degrees, not at the sky, at the operations building, at the control room, at us. Dr. Park stood unsteadily. "Dome C has to go." "Go as in shut down?" "No," she said. "Go as in never point at anything again." That answer was clear enough. We ran for the east entrance. This time, Dr. Park led. She kept the red canvas wrapped around her shoulders and her eyes down. I followed with the utility knife in one hand, though I knew it would do almost nothing. The east door was open now. The control room beyond was lit in red, not emergency red, observation red. Every monitor displayed the same thing, a live feed of the night sky. Except the sky on the screens was not our sky. Stars moved like cells under a microscope. Black spaces pulsed between them. A huge circular darkness sat in the center of every monitor, not empty, but focused, an eye without edges. Dr. Park grabbed the rule binder from the console. "Don't look at the monitors." I dropped my gaze, too late. The circular darkness had already left a shape in my vision. When I blinked, it remained. An afterimage, an opening. The printer started. Page after page shot into the tray. Coordinates, hundreds of them. The red drawer rattled violently under the printer, not opening, trying to stay shut. "Doctor." Park yanked it open. Inside were folded pages, dozens, maybe hundreds, years of coordinates no one had requested, avoided doors, near openings, places where the sky had almost learned how to come down. The pages shifted like insects. Dr. Park grabbed the metal trash can from beside the console. "Put them in." I started scooping pages into the bin. The moment I touched the first folded sheet, a location flashed in my mind. A childhood kitchen. My mother humming. Warm light under a door. Home. I nearly unfolded it. Dr. Park slapped it out of my hand and into the bin. "Do not read them." We moved faster. Pages filled the trash can. The printer kept producing more. The monitors flickered. My mother's voice came from the south hallway. "Did you eat?" I threw more pages into the bin. Owen's voice came from Dome C's intercom. "Please hurry." I froze. Dr. Park looked at me. "That might be him." "That's what makes it hard." She nodded once, pained. Then she dumped the last handful of folded coordinates into the bin. The red drawer was empty. The printer stopped. The monitors went black. For 1 second I thought we had won too early. Then the printer printed one final page. Not coordinates. A schedule. Mesa Alta night shift schedule. My name was on every line. Not just tonight. Tomorrow. Next week. Next month. Every night. For years. At the bottom, under observer assignment, it said, "Permanent." Dr. Park snatched the page before I could touch it and threw it into the bin. "Burn it." I grabbed the emergency match tube from the wall kit, struck one, and dropped it into the trash can. The pages did not catch at first. They hissed. The folded papers buckled and twitched, trying to crawl up the sides of the bin. Then flame took them. Blue at first, then orange. The control room screamed, every monitor cracked. The glass window facing the dome shattered inward. Cold air rushed in. Outside, Dome C rotated violently toward us. Rule 18. If the telescope turns toward the control room window, leave the building through the east exit and do not look back. We were already inside. The telescope pointed directly at the broken window, directly at the burning bin, directly at us. Dr. Park grabbed my arm. "Move!" We ran toward the east exit. Behind us, the fire in the trash can roared higher. The burning coordinates lifted in a spiral of ash, each page briefly glowing with numbers before collapsing into black flakes. A voice came from Dome C, not over speakers, not through radio, through the broken window. "Observer." I did not look back. The east hallway stretched. Of course it did. The exit door seemed to pull away from us. Every step took too long. On the wall to our left, framed photographs appeared where none had been before. Old staff photos, researchers, technicians, night assistants, Dr. Meyer, the woman from the generator shed, Owen, Dr. Park, me. My photo showed me standing outside Dome C, looking up. I ripped it off the wall without stopping and threw it behind me. The hallway snapped shorter. Dr. Park noticed. "Don't let it document you." the walls filled with papers, logs, schedules, access forms, incident reports, every blank line filling with my name. I tore them down as we ran. The exit got closer, 10 feet, 5. The door opened. Outside, the desert was not dark anymore. Dawn had not come, but the sky had paled to an unnatural gray. Stars still burned overhead, visible through the false morning. The telescopes were all moving. Domes A and B had lost power, but their instruments strained against dead mounts, scraping metal, trying to turn. Dome C was fully open, its telescope pointed at the control room window. The mirror was uncovered. Owen's voice came from inside it. "I can't hold on." Dr. Park stopped. "No," I said. "He's real." "You don't know that." "I do." She looked at me. He was on tonight's printed schedule. I remembered the schedule on the wall. I had never checked it for Owen. Dr. Park reached into her jacket and pulled out a folded page, the printed schedule. There, below my name, below Dr. Park's emergency contact line, was Owen Reyes, Dome C calibration, 2330 to 400. My stomach sank. He had been scheduled. He had been allowed in. And he was still in there. The rule about after-hours staff meant he mattered. "Okay," I said. "How do we get him out?" Dr. Park looked toward Dome C. "We don't open the dome door while the mirror is uncovered, so we cover it. The cover is with us." The red canvas was still around her shoulders. Dome C stood 30 yards away across open ground. Between us and it, the desert lights appeared. 3 of them, white, steady, moving where there was no road. Rule 5 said not to mark them on the map. It did not say what to do when they came toward you. The lights stopped between us and Dome C. Then they rose, not headlights, not lanterns. Eyes. 3 white eyes opening vertically in the air, stacked one above another. Dr. Park whispered, "Don't assign shape." "What? Don't decide what it is." That was harder than not looking. The mind wants labels. Eyes, creature, machine, angel, alien, door, wrong, wrong, wrong. All of those thoughts felt like invitations. So I thought of weather, wind speed, 0, humidity, 12%, temperature, 48 degrees, pressure, falling. The 3 lights dimmed. Dr. Park saw it. "Keep doing that." We walked, not ran. Walked toward Dome C, eyes down, thinking boring earthly numbers as hard as we could. Wind speed, humidity, temperature, pressure, dew point, visibility. The 3 lights drifted aside. Dome C's access door waited. Behind it, something knocked. Tap, tap, tap. Owen's voice came weakly. "Don't open until the mirror is covered." Dr. Park handed me the red canvas. "I'll distract the scope." "How?" "By being something it already knows." Before I could stop her, she stepped into the open and looked up. Not at the sky. At Dome C. "Celine Park," she said clearly. "Director, Mesa Alta Observatory." The telescope shifted. Its mirror turned slightly toward her. She gave it recognition, a target, a name, and it took it. I ran. I kept low, sprinting across the last stretch of gravel and concrete, canvas clutched in both hands. The dome's open shutter loomed above me. The telescope motor screamed as it tried to decide between Dr. Park and me. Inside the dome, the air was freezing. The primary mirror glowed with stars, not reflected stars, contained stars. Owen was strapped in the observation chair beside the telescope, exactly as I had seen in the false Dome C. His face was pale and streaked with blood. Cable ties cut into his wrists. He saw me and squeezed his eyes shut. "Cover it!" I threw the canvas. This time, I did not miss. The red cover spread over the mirror and clung to it like a wound dressing. The dome went dark. Owen sobbed once. I cut the ties with my utility knife. "Can you walk?" "No." "Great." I hauled him up anyway. Outside, Dr. Park screamed. I dragged Owen toward the dome door. He was heavier than he looked and barely conscious. Behind us, the canvas cover began to bulge inward. Something pressed against it from inside the mirror. A hand shape, then another, then a face. Owen saw it and gagged. "Don't let it uncover." Trying. We stumbled through the dome door. Dr. Park was on her knees outside, staring at the ground, hands clamped over her ears. The 3 white lights circled her slowly. She was whispering weather data. Wind 0, humidity 12, temperature 48, pressure falling, wind 0, humidity 12. I lowered Owen beside her. "We need to destroy Dome C." Owen laughed weakly. "Finally." Dr. Park looked up at me. "The old mount has a manual release. If we disengage the locking bolts, the telescope will drop into park position. That destroys it?" "No." "Then why are we doing it?" Owen coughed. "Because park position points it at the floor. The floor, not sky, not control room, not us. Something no one could look through. The release controls were inside Dome C. Of course." Owen grabbed my sleeve. 3 bolts, north, west, south. Do not touch the east bolt." "Why?" His eyes flicked toward Dr. Park. She answered. "East bolt was added after the first incident. It doesn't hold the telescope up. It holds something down." I didn't ask. I went back inside. The canvas still covered the mirror, but it was stretching badly. The starlight behind it pulsed like a heartbeat. I found the first locking bolt near the north mount. A large wheel crank. I turned it. Once. Twice. The metal groaned. The telescope shifted. The canvas bulged. A voice behind it whispered my mother's name. Not my name. Hers. It was learning around me now. I kept turning. The north bolt released with a crack. I moved west. The dome began to rotate above me. No power, no command, just rotating. The shutter opening moved slowly across the sky, revealing stars in a sliding band. I kept my eyes down. At the west bolt, I turned the crank until my shoulders burned. A voice came from behind the canvas. "Dr. Meyer." "You're doing it wrong." I kept turning. The west bolt released. The telescope sagged lower. The canvas slipped an inch. White light spilled out. I threw myself flat. The beam passed over me and struck the dome wall. Where it hit, the metal became transparent. Through it, I saw home. Not a planet, not a star, not a place. An arrangement. A vast structure of attention. All angles and openings, folding through distances too large for the mind to hold. It was not looking at Earth because it hated us. It was looking because we had looked first. I crawled to the south bolt with my eyes shut. My hands found the wheel. I turned. The voice behind the canvas became Dr. Park's son. "Please don't put me back in the dark." I turned. It became Owen. "I'm still in here." I turned. It became me. "You already looked." I turned. The south bolt released. The telescope dropped. The whole mount slammed downward so hard the dome floor buckled. The primary mirror pointed straight at the concrete. The red canvas collapsed flat. The light vanished. Silence. I opened my eyes. The telescope was broken, not destroyed, but ruined enough. Its long barrel pointed down. The support struts had twisted. The tracking assembly smoked. The mirror, still covered, pressed toward the floor like a buried eye. Then the east bolt began to turn by itself. Slowly. Click, click, click. No, I ran. Behind me, something under the floor knocked. Tap, tap, tap. The east bolt spun faster. Whatever it held down was waking. I reached the dome door and threw myself outside. "Move!" I shouted. Dr. Park and Owen didn't ask why. We ran toward the operations building. Behind us, Dome C sank. Not collapsed, sank. The concrete pad beneath it softened like mud. The entire dome lowered inch by inch into the mesa, metal groaning, cables snapping, until the open shutter was level with the ground. Then below it, something opened. Not an eye, a mouth made of stars. Dome C dropped into it. The ground sealed. No explosion. No crater. Just bare concrete and disturbed dust where a whole telescope dome had stood. The sky blinked. That is the only way to describe it. Every star went out for 1 second, then returned, in the correct places. The familiar constellations were back. Orion, Cassiopeia, the Pleiades. The moon was a thin crescent again. The desert lights were gone. The pressure lifted. Owen collapsed on the ground. Doctor. Park sat beside him, staring at the empty place where Dome C had been. I waited for relief. It didn't come. Because the control room printer started, I could hear it from outside. 1 page, just one. Dr. Park looked at me. Don't. I went anyway. Inside, the control room was wrecked. Monitors cracked, windows shattered. Ash from the burned coordinate pages scattered across the floor. The red drawer hung open and empty. The printer held 1 sheet. No coordinates, no schedule, only a sentence. Observation interrupted. Underneath it, in smaller text, new alignment pending. I folded the page twice. There was no red drawer to put it in now, so I burned it in the same trash can. This time, it burned normally. Paper to ash. Nothing screamed. Sunrise came 20 minutes later. The desert looked ordinary in daylight. Too ordinary. That felt almost offensive. Dome C was gone. There was no debris, no broken foundation, no sign it had ever existed, except for a circular patch of discolored concrete and a ring of dead insects around where the walls had been. Owen was taken to a hospital in town. The official report said he suffered dehydration, exposure, and injuries during an equipment malfunction. Dr. Park filed the dome loss as catastrophic structural failure due to foundation collapse. No one believed that, but everyone accepted it. The remote researchers from Dome B sent angry emails about lost data. Dr. Singh included 1 attachment from their backup feed. No one opened it. Dr. Park deleted the email without reading it. 2 weeks later, Mesa Alta Observatory announced Dome C would not be rebuilt. 3 weeks later, I tried to quit. Dr. Park accepted my resignation without argument. She looked exhausted, thinner, older. There was a streak of white in her hair that hadn't been there before. "You did well," she said. "I never want to see this place again." "I know. Will that matter?" She looked out the window toward the empty concrete circle where Dome C had been. For a while. That was not the answer I wanted. Before I left, Owen gave me the black binder. I refused to take it. He smiled weakly. "You don't have to work here to need it. I'm not a night assistant anymore." "No," he said. "You're an observed party." That phrase has followed me ever since. Observed party, like a legal status, like a diagnosis, like a curse written by scientists who didn't believe in curses. I drove away before sunset. I kept my eyes on the road, not the sky, never the sky. For months, nothing happened. I moved to Albuquerque. I got a day job fixing office equipment. I slept at night with blackout curtains over every window. I stopped reading astronomy articles. I deleted every stargazing app from my phone. I told myself it was over. Then, one morning, my printer turned on by itself. I didn't even know it was plugged in. It printed a single page, coordinates, no title, no timestamp, just coordinates. Underneath them, do not point yourself here again. I burned the paper in my kitchen sink. That night, the stars outside my apartment window were wrong. Not all of them, just 3. 3 white points where no stars should be, arranged in a vertical line, like eyes. I closed the curtains and counted backward from 100. At 72, my mother asked if I had eaten. At 51, Dr. Park's son asked to be let in. At 30, Owen told me the red drawer was full again. At 9, something knocked on my ceiling. Tap, tap, tap. At 1, the stars returned to normal. Mostly. I still have the black binder. I added my own rule to the back page. Rule 19. If you leave Mesa Alta and the stars follow, do not convince yourself distance matters, because it doesn't. Not to home. Not to whatever lives behind observation. I don't work at the observatory anymore. But some nights, when the power flickers and every screen in my apartment goes black, I feel the old pressure return. The sense of something above the world leaning down, trying to remember my shape. And when that happens, I sit under the emergency light I installed in my hallway, keep my eyes on the floor, and whisper weather data until sunrise. Wind speed, humidity, temperature, pressure, dew point, visibility, nothing poetic, nothing meaningful, nothing worth noticing. It works, most nights. Last week I got a letter from Mesa Alta. No return address, no stamp, just my name on the envelope in Dr. Park's handwriting. Inside was a printed schedule, 1 line. Dome C calibration, 0000 to 0400. Under operator, it listed my name. Under location, it said, home. I burned it. Of course I burned it. But the ash arranged itself in my sink. Coordinates. I won't write them here. I won't say them. I won't think about them if I can help it. Because the worst thing I learned at Mesa Alta is that looking is not passive. Attention is a bridge. Curiosity is a door. And somewhere far beyond the safe little map of human constellations, something learned that we have telescopes. Something learned that we like to stare into the dark and call it discovery. Something learned my name. So, if you ever work the night shift at an observatory and someone gives you a list of rules, follow them. If the printer gives you coordinates, fold them twice. If a stranger says the sky is too close, leave them outside. If you hear a dead loved one behind a door that wasn't there before, walk away. And if a telescope ever turns away from the heavens and points at you, do not wonder what it sees. Wonder what sees through it.